This is the Pennsylvania Independent Weekly Podcast. I'm Eric Bain. It's been exactly 1 month since the federal government told Pennsylvania the state would not be allowed to place tolls along Interstate 80. The decision has thrown the Commonwealth's transportation budget into chaos, leaving a $472 million hole in Act 44 funding for the next fiscal year. This week, Governor Ed Rendell convened a special session of the General Assembly to deal with the problem. And joining me now to discuss the special transportation session and some of his plans for balancing the state's budget is Representative Rick Geist, a Republican from Blair County and the minority chair of the House Transportation Committee. Representative Geist, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
So you've got a number of proposals out there, ranging from upping the oil franchise tax to applying for the right to toll Interstate 95 in the southeast corner of the state. If you could pick out two or three of those that would be the most likely to get passed or you think would be the most effective, which would they be?
Well, first of all, the recognition has to be there that the problem really exists. And I think that universally among the people in our industry and our business, we realize how short we are of the revenues needed to fix bridges and roads and the revenues that are needed to run mass transit and increase capacity in Pennsylvania. Not only in highways, but also in air and rail and all the other modalities. So our group, we brought out a plan, 11-point plan, and that whole plan has now been incorporated into the governor's message. I guess in our business, the greatest form of flattery is when somebody takes your stuff and uses it. But yeah, it's the plan itself is a blueprint. But there are certain benchmark numbers that you have to understand. The first benchmark number is that Pennsylvania is over $2 billion a year in predictable base funding in the whole for maintaining roads and bridges. And everybody says, well, fine, I'm able to drive on my road, but if you don't maintain a road, then later you have to rebuild that road, and that's tremendous expenses there. The same with the bridges, even though we've done a very good job of increasing the monetary flow to fixing the bad bridges, we are still just shy of 6,000 distressed bridges in Pennsylvania, and that's just way, way too many. That's more than all of New York and New England combined. And it is a huge problem, and it's a for real problem, but it's a problem that's solvable. And I would hope to see in that package, the very first cornerstone piece would be our legislation to create public-private partnerships and attract private capital into the transportation business of Pennsylvania. I think that's a must. The governor and others have said it's a must, and we will be introducing that in the special session. I think we have to take a look at the franchise fee, which hasn't changed since '97. The prices have gone way, way past the cap, and I think that those adjustments need to be made. If we can do that and a couple of the other tweaks, that would get you about $1 billion of new money a year. You're still way short. So we have to take a look at all the options, and I think that the members have to be deeply involved with how those decisions are made.
Now, three Democrats in the House, Bill Kortz, Michael O'Brien, and Scott Conklin, the other day, they proposed a variation on the idea of tolling. They want to charge vehicles for crossing state lines. It'd be $1 for cars. It would be $5 for trucks. Is this a good idea?
All ideas are good ideas right now. And in the end, what you have to do is to be able to put 102 in the House, 26 in the Senate, and have a governor sign it.
The whole process of calling a special session, is this mostly just for show, or can you really accomplish things here that you wouldn't be able to accomplish in a regular session?
I believe that the answer is we can accomplish. I will give the governor the total benefit of the doubt now, and after sitting down with him and his top folks, of thinking he really wants to solve something here. The worst thing that can happen is doing nothing because the deterioration continues. And as it continues, the price tag keeps going north. The other thing that we have to be cognizant about is that if you have a governor from Philadelphia, he's going to want to take care of SEPTA. And if we don't have the rest of the transportation industry included in this, then you drop back to a point, if you only take care of SEPTA, then we see nothing for 3 more years. And that's really almost totally unacceptable.
And you bring up mass transit, which is, of course, a big part of the whole formula here. Mass transit, which is heavily subsidized from other parts of the state to
that's
the cities. What do you do to correct that problem?
Well, one of our approaches is to see the local match goes up. I think the most attractive menu item there is the realty transfer tax in that region and make it a regional tax. The current match is only 13%, and you've got to go up to national standards, and that gives them the local option to put this in, and I think we need to do that.
So where would you say the local matching funds have to come up to? Is it 25%? Do they have to go higher than that?
You don't have a number because we don't know what the total funding is going to be. The real cut from the Turnpike monies is in capital projects. SEPTA's had capital projects that are necessary, that have been there for 40 years. And if you believe that mass transit is an economic generator, of which I do, I think that to have a good economy in populated areas, you have to have a very good mass transit system. And in Act 44, there were some very good things in there on the formula and also on the way of evaluating and auditing transit all over the state, both the rural systems and the big system. One of the things that we don't want to give up is the transit in the rural areas. If you come from the premise that you believe that nobody should be a prisoner in their own home, there's a service that we've worked to instill and install for the last 15 years, and it works very well. And those kind of services, you just can't cut them.
Oh, this is a question submitted by one of our readers online. He says, authority over transportation issues is scattered across a cornucopia of agencies all throughout the state, which are largely operated in a political spoils system. What steps can be taken to cut unnecessary government by bringing all the disparate agencies under PennDOT's centralized authority?
Well, I'd have to be a dictator to do that. Unfortunately, you have to govern. And in governing, if you control the money, then you should be able to control the system, much like the feds extort us to get our own monies back. But I believe that the work that was done in Act 44 on mass transit was good. We all agreed on that formula, and that's another thing that came out of the study commission report. And I think that the management of the big systems has gotten much better and will continue to be even much more better than that because they face that audit that they never had before.
Another question from one of our readers that came in was Governor Rendell has kind of floated the idea of merging the Turnpike Commission and PennDOT. Do you think that would be an efficient way to kind of run two agencies and bring them together?
It's really not a bad idea. Another idea that the governor has put forth is to have a private management company run the Turnpike. We can't get rid of the Turnpike authority because they have the bonds that are out there. So the responsibility has to be to make the payments, and the bonding companies, the people that hold the paper, will never go along if you fold it in and don't want to retire the debt. You'll be in court so fast it'll be unbelievable. But a private management company is not a bad idea.
One last question before we let you get out of here. How long is the special session going to go on for? Do you have to be done by June 30th? Is there some sort of deadline you guys have talked about, or is this going to go until you find the funding?
My own personal belief here, and this has nothing to do with my leadership, is I think the governor is deadly serious about getting this done. I think that if he can see a consensus in the making, he may even keep us in session after the election. So I don't know. I mean, that's a predictable thing. But there has to be a great interest in the industry out there. There has to be a great interest from citizens. And everybody can complain about the bad roads and bridges, and they do. One thing about a politician, they will come up and tell you exactly what's wrong. They wouldn't tell a traffic company to stop them, but they'll come to your office and tell you. So we've got a huge problem. The problem is a real problem. The question is, how serious is the General Assembly about solving it? How serious are the gubernatorial candidates about solving the problems of Pennsylvania? It is much more about governing than it is about getting elected right now.
All right, thank you very much. That's Representative Rick Geist. He is the minority chair of the House Transportation Committee. Don't forget, you can follow all our coverage of the special transportation session and general Pennsylvania political news on www.paindependent.com. For the Pennsylvania Independent Podcast, this is Eric Boehm. Thanks for listening.